Good afternoon. Welcome to Cross Street Chapel's Anthems for Advent, a special celebration bringing together poetry and music, contributions from congregants and friends, and I think is a splendid start to the holiday season. We have a very full program this year, which means that I will try to keep my words brief, which you might consider a blessing. My voice is going as well, so I might run out of words completely. But I do have a few words just to make sure we have initially, which is that you should have a program, you should have a hymn sheet, and you should have a pencil or some writing implement. Please raise your hand if you do not have any of those three things.
Excellent.
Well done to our ushers. What I will also say is please ensure that phones are set off or to silent. And if you need to visit the facilities, please leave at the back during the performance rather than using these doors, which might seem strange, but we do have people on occasion work their way into the choir. Those doors are locked, so if you find yourself heading that way, you will be stuck in the choir and have to contribute to the program. As with all our Friday recitals, these concerts are free to attend, but we do ask for donations, which this year will go to our chosen charity, AfroCats. Magdalene from AfroCats will be up here later to talk about the important work that they do. But in the meantime, I hope that you will consider being able to give generously in this season of goodwill. So the necessary comments being over, we come now to our first carol, O Come, Emmanuel. Our choir roundelay is going to start us off, but then please feel free to join in from the second verse. O come, Emmanuel.
Amen.
making way to her first Anthems concert, taking place for our Sunday services, and will be performing in a Friday recital next year. She's brought along some Vivaldi. After her, we hear from the words of the educator and writer Gervais Finn, shared by the Reverend Dr. Ann Pierce. Then our chapel keeper, a splendid musician and songsmith, Janet Wolstenholme, shares her piece Underground. And already you can see we're such a bastion of talent. It's really a joy to be here. We do need to note a program change. Marion was unable to join us and read the piece by Alan Titchmarsh. In its place, we have a reflection by Reverend Andy Phillips, given by the Reverend Kate Beatty McKenna. After that, our music director, Catherine, leads a ragtag group of musicians in Harold Dark's version of In the Bleak Midwinter. And finally, Peter Sampson lends his voice to D.H. Lawrence's poem, The Piano.
true story of an event in a primary school somewhere in the Yorkshire Dales. Picture December sunshine, bright and brittle, shone through the classroom window and lit up the vicar. His sparse sandy hair shone like gold, his small black eyes sparkled, and his cheeks shone as if they had recently been scrubbed. This is a very special time of year, children, he said jovially, addressing the infants who stared up at him with open mouths. Can anybody tell me what it is? Christmas, volunteered a small, wiry boy with a feathery fringe who began waving his hand in the air like a daffodil in a strong wind. It's Christmas. It is indeed, agreed the vicar, smiling beatifically. It's Christmas, and a very, very special time of year. I'm getting a bike, the boy told him. I'm getting a doll, what can wet her nappies and talk. And a large girl with round, moon face and hair in untidy bunches. This was the signal for all the children to shout out what presents they were hoping to receive from Father Christmas. I'm going a remote control car. I'm going a train set. I'm going the children, exclaimed the vicar, raising a hand like a crossing patrol warden stopping cars. Christmas is not just about presents, you know. It's really a celebration of a birthday. It's about the birth of a very special baby. I know what you were called, said the small wily boy. The vicar interlaced his long fingers just beneath his chin in an attitude of a child praying and said, I'm very glad to hear it, he said in that solicitous and kindly tone often possessed by men of the cloth. We were called Wayne, Charles said. Wayne? Certainly not. What a thought, cried the vicar in mock horror. It were, cried the boy undisturbed. That we were called Wayne. No, it wasn't Wayne, said the vicar, his jaw tightening and his voice quavering a little. He bit his lip momentarily. The poor man had imagined that speaking to a group of small children about Christmas would be an easy enough task. But now he was regretting that he'd ever agreed to visit the school that morning. The baby was called Jesus, the vicar told him slowly and deliberately. It will Wayne, insisted the child, nodding vigorously. Jesus, snapped the vicar. Wayne, replied the child. I know because we all sang about it in assembly. A Wayne in a manger. Don't beg for a bed. Underground, below this town, there's the place where sweetness sounds under the town. Underground.
It's so soft, it's so soft, it's so under the town. It's so big, we can travel, but we'll have to dig. It's so sweet underground, underpath, under road. It's so warm, it's so soft, it's so warm. Up in air, it's so huge, above the land, above the sand. It's so clear, it's so clear. In the air we are there, we're everywhere. We'll have to fly, fly, fly. We won't say goodbye when it's our turn to fly. In the air, in the air all around. We're even in the city sounds everywhere, everywhere. It's so big, it's so small. We're so big, we're so small.
You asked me whether I've ever been moved by the baby Jesus. Well, I've held a newborn baby and felt the grace and astonishment of potential and screaming need. And I've looked into the eyes of a child, pools of innocence and wonder, and wondered where I mislaid mine. Have I ever been moved by the baby Jesus? I've sat in the quiet to train myself to look at the world anew, and tried to shed the phrase born again of its dogma and doctrine, reclaiming it for fresh-eyed truth, though it's still but through a glass, darkly. Have I ever been moved by the baby Jesus? I've heard carols almost celestial over the radio on crisp white Christmas Eves, and felt my spine tingle to Handel's refrain, "Unto us a son is given," even as I've crossed my mental fingers, quibbling at the theology. Have I ever been moved by the baby Jesus? I've ranted and raved about festive consumerism, hailed the man himself with the moneylenders' tables, and I've railed at the mawkish sentimentality of it all those little Lapland lines, and known I am right, while still also somehow missing the point. Have I ever been moved by the baby Jesus? I've have heard the tale of the Christmas truce. Football, cigarettes, joviality in no man's land. Lads, barely grown, didn't want to fight, didn't want to die. A brief chink of light through tragedy's dark cloud. And something about its earthiness and futility conjures up those bleak words, in this world of pain, and the knowing that every Christmas has its Friday of reckoning. And suddenly I am touched, more than by all the power, glory, angels, archangels, and the whole company of heaven, and more than by all the gentle Jesus, meek and mild, that unbelievable, non-crying child. So you ask me again whether I've ever been moved by the baby Jesus. Well, I've seen too many dolls not to tell you straight. It doesn't go in through my front door. There really isn't any room at the inn. But I think there's still a stable round the back of my heart I can put him in.
dust. A woman is singing to me. Take me back down the vista of years till I see a child sitting under the piano in the boom of the tinkling strings and pressing the small poised feet of a mother who smiles as she sings. In spite of myself, the insidious mastery of song betrays me back till the heart of me weeps to belong to the old Sunday evenings at home, with winter outside and hymns in the cosy parlour, the tinkling piano, our guide. So now it is vain for the singer to burst into clamour with the great black piano appassionato. The glamour of childish days is upon me. My manhood is cast down in the flood of remembrance. I weep like a child for the past.
After Peter's sharing, we turn to some words that he's written. Rondele is going to start us off with his hymn, Sing for Joy, which you'll note is our theme for this year's Anthems for Advent. So please join in for the second verse. Our theme for today is Sing for Joy.
Joy to all the
This second third, if you will, starts with our previous Sunday musician, Aaron Breeze, recently back from working in Austria. You will have already heard him. He's fantastic piano and accompanying skills. He's also a composer. He's going to talk about his what he's been doing today. We then welcome Peter Sampson to return for King John's Christmas, and then Daria Dorothea, who played our recital series back in February, will be sharing her interpretation of the prelude to Bach's G major cello suite. And our own William West shares his interpretation of Wordsworth's Ten Turned Abbey. I've been given a chance to play a jazz ballad by the Hungarian composer Wellington Talley from his second Pearls suite. And then we turn to hear from Magdalene of Anthems.
So due to a technical hiccup, I'm not going to be playing the piece that's written in the program. But the thing with playing anything with technology, you always need a contingency, so I do have one. So the piece that was in the program originally was actually a part of a Spotify release which just came out today. So this is actually maybe a good thing because now you've got a reason to listen to it. But instead, I'll be playing a piano piece I played 2 years ago for the same concert here. 3 slapstick etudes.
King John was not a good man. He had his little ways, and sometimes no one spoke to him for days and days and days. And then who came across him when walking in the town gave him a supercilious stare, all passed with noses in the air, and bad King John stood dumbly there, blushing beneath his crown. King John was not a good man, and no good friends had he. He stayed in every afternoon, but no one came to tea. And round about December, the cards upon the shelf, which wished him lots of Christmas cheer and fortune in the coming year, were never from his near and dear, but only from himself. King John was not a good man. He had his hopes and fears. They'd given him no present now for years and years and years. But every year at Christmas, while minstrels stood about collecting tribute from the young for all the songs they might have sung, he stole away upstairs and hung a hopeful stocking out. King John was not a good man. He lived his life aloof. Alone, he thought a message out while climbing up the roof. He wrote it down and propped it against the chimney stack. To all and sundry near and far, Christmas in particular, and signed it not Johannes R., but very humbly, Jack. I want some crackers, and I want some candy. I think a box of chocolates would come in handy. I don't mind oranges. I do like nuts. And I should like a pocket knife that really cuts. And oh, Father Christmas, if you love me at all, bring me a big red India rubber ball. King John was not a good man. He wrote this message out and got into his room again, descending by the spout. And all that night he lay there, a prey to hopes and fears. I think that's him coming now. Anxiety bedewed his brow. He'd bring one present anyhow, the first I've had for years. Forget about the crackers, and forget about the candy. I'm sure a box of chocolates would never come in handy. I don't like oranges, I don't want nuts, and I have got a pocket knife, well, it almost cuts. But oh, Father Christmas, if you love me at all, bring me a big red India rubber ball. King John was not a good man. Next morning, when the sun rose up to tell a waiting world that Christmas had begun, and people seized their stockings and opened them with glee, and crackers, toys and games appeared, and links with sticky sweets were smeared, King John said grimly, as I feared, nothing again for me. I did want crackers, and I did want candy. I know a box of chocolate would come in handy. I do love oranges. I did want nuts. I haven't got a pocket knife, not one that cuts. And oh, if Father Christmas had loved me at all, he would have brought a big red India rubber ball. King John stood by the window and frowned to see below the happy band of boys and girls all playing in the snow. Oh, while he stood there watching and envying them all, when through the window big and red. They're hurtled by his royal head, and bounced and fell off the bed, and India rubber ball. And oh, Father Christmas, my blessings on you all for bringing him a big red India rubber ball.
one spring, there was this tree that was in blossom and it was lit up. And I stood by it and I was lit up inside in response to the tree. And that sense of connection to nature has stayed with me ever since. And I spoke to my cousin, Alistair, trying to make sense of what this experience was, and he said, read Wordsworth, which I did. And here's an extract from Tintern Abbey. For I have learned to look on nature not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still, sad music of humanity. Not harsh, nor grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man. A motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore, am I still a lover of the meadows and the woods and mountains, and of all that we behold.
afternoon. What a pleasant way to spend an afternoon. If it wasn't for Afrocats, I wouldn't be here today to hear the beautiful music and readings and singing. And I wish I could have contributed doing some of my dance moves, because you don't want to hear me sing. So very happy to be here, and feel so honoured and so humble that this is for our charity. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll tell you about Afrocats. Afrocats stands for African and Contemporary Arts, and we started in 2003 as a community group, and then changed to a charity in 2017. But before that, I came to Manchester from Barbados. Has anyone heard of Barbados before? Anyone been? Are we all from Manchester? Show of hands of who's from Manchester. Anyone who was born abroad? I'm not the only one. And at 13, came with my mother, and I left everything behind. And at that age, all I felt was the cold when we arrived in London. And then we moved to Manchester, and I think that's the first time that we felt community. London was different. We didn't know our neighbours, but when we came to Manchester, we were able to visit our neighbours, and then we also joined a group called Abyssindi. Has anyone heard of Abyssindi? Yeah. Oh, that's great! And they're, for those of you who don't know who they were, there was a African and Caribbean dance group based in Moss Side, and it was an all women's drum and dance group, and I think that's the first time I got involved in activism without realizing. I remember dancing and men getting up to walk out because they said, I'm not going to listen to women playing drums. You see, because they would play the drums and the women would dance. But Abyssindi, I think, brought in a lot of barriers, and at that point I didn't realize how many barriers they were breaking down until like now, and I reflect on that. So that's always been something that stayed with me. At the age of 16, our family had a campaign, a huge campaign, and all the community in Moorside came up to support us, and Manchester City Council supported us, and Sisse read a poem for us. At that point, I didn't know who Sisse was, or who he would become. But it was eye-opening, because coming from Barbados, we keep everything to ourselves. We don't talk about anything, especially something like a campaign. We feel very embarrassed about it, but then we realize actually it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And many people have to go through tough times and go through situations like that. And I had my own campaign at 19 at university, and that's where Afrocats started, and the idea of Afrocats. Arts was something that kept my family going through the dancing with Abyssindi, and then I studied dance and drama as well. And that was the beginning of Afrocats. And then the well-being aspect of it was important. And then when I had my own campaign at university, it made me think of, I want to do something to support others like I was supported. Even though I was still going through a campaign, I thought that. But I thought, it probably wouldn't happen, but this is something that I really want. And that's where Africa started. Came back to Manchester, we got our stay after 6 years of fighting. And in 2003, Africa started working with unaccompanied refugees and asylum seekers. A lot of the girls we worked with came from Rwanda. And we did a performance called Where Is Home? Is home where you left, or is home here in Manchester? And I don't know for those of you who came here how it feels for you, but I feel like I have one foot in Barbados and one here in England. And I think speaking to a lot of people, I found that that's how they feel as well. So AfroCats runs 2 programs, Natives of the World and Youth of the World. People don't want to be labelled refugees and asylum seekers. They just want to be called diverse people who live in Manchester. I'm trying to honour that, and I'm actually campaigning now to find a way of representing the people that we work with better on our website. And we provide well-being classes for adults, so we do mindfulness workshops, walking, we provide data bundles, travel expenses, walks to the park, and just opportunities for people to go to museums and art galleries, places that they don't normally have access to. Then we have the Youth of the World program, and we do performances, more creative activities, we do dance, drama, singing, they're better singers than me, and a range of other activities. But now we're looking at leadership and getting them to speak, getting them to feel that confidence, to be able to share their experiences, share about their culture, identity, what's important to them, what needs to change in society. And Cross Street Chapel has been instrumental. I remember in 2019, when we didn't have any funding at all, and the people we worked with wanted culturally appropriate food parcels. And that is, I didn't know how to fundraise for it. I kept getting calls, and I thought I have to do something. Children didn't want to eat the tin food, and they wanted yam. Everybody knows what yam is here? And sweet potato. Yeah? So I came and spoke to Janet, and I said, Janet, we haven't got any money, but can we have a space so we can pack our food parcels? And yes, Janet said yes, and we came and we packed over 100 food parcels to send out across Manchester and Greater Manchester. So some of the money that we will collect from this will go towards providing food parcels for those families who really need it. And the importance of having things like this and opportunities where I can come and talk and share and to have that connection and build that support, it means a lot to them. When often they're forgotten because there's so much that happens in life. I think during the pandemic, there was a lot of support. We managed to raise over £3,000 to support the people that we work with. But as time has moved on and we've come out of that, it has reduced. But the struggles go on, and especially in light of the cost of living crisis. I think they've always been in a crisis. But what's been good is people are talking about it much more, and that conversation is continuing. So if you're a supporter, a lot of families will be helped. A lot of them will be, given the strength to continue. So thank you so much, and thanks for remembering. Thanks for making me feel welcome today through song, and thanks for supporting.
Our chapel celebrated 350 years of legal worship this year, and it has brought to mind all the changes that we have seen in our city. And we've been on this site since the 1690s, when it was considered the outskirts of town. As we listen to this music, keep in mind the people who make up our city, especially those less fortunate than ourselves. Keep in mind those who are vulnerable, those diverse people of Manchester, those who are at risk of being forced to work as modern-day slaves, those who work tirelessly to support and alleviate the challenges in the world, charities such as AfroCats that look after the injured and the lost, the hungry and the lonely. May they and all who need it know joy. In a harsh world, it can be difficult to find joy at times. And that's what we try to do here today. Bring some joy into the world. You can too. You should have in your program a card and pencil. Use it to write down something joyful, or perhaps to draw a picture of something joyful, something that comes to your mind, whatever, a memory, a thought, or a wish that you might have for the world. Whatever in this moment that you think of when you hear joy, what joy do you want to bring into the world? At the end, we'll collect these up and they'll be fixed to our tree. Yes, at the very end of the concert. These will be gathered up and affixed to our tree for the remainder of the Advent season. We now have a brief moment of pause and reflection to write down your thoughts. Our final section today features Michael Kiriakou, who brings his song Will Fit There, and you have gotten there. Phyllis Alden, a longtime friend of the chapel, brings some Brahms to the table. Catherine and Hannah return with a collection of traditional Christmas tunes arranged by Peter Thorne. Alan Christy Casson shares with us some notes regarding recent worship changes from Mrs. Beamish. And Vicky Dawson helps draw a close to our concert and to start the Christmas season with the immortal poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas.
Many rivers flow to the open sea. Many years home, hungry to be free. Many miles straight down a dead road. Many prayers and prayer as the day unfolds. Many moons are searching for some peace of mind. Many travelers hurting for what's left behind. Many lands are burning beneath the cruelest sun. Many souls are turning, great wrongs have been done. Go again. silent cry. We're stronger than we think we are, and we know we'll get there. Many nights of fighting for a single breath, hardly delighting in whatever's left. Many pilgrims longing for skies they never knew. Many voices out there yet to break on. We know we'll get there. We know we'll get there. Moving through darkness, on our lips a silent prayer. We're stronger than we think we are. We know we'll get there. Some fall along the way, and the devil of the day. But love can make you strong, but time can make you weak. So no, it won't be easy. We know we'll get there together. We'll get there.
I'm going to sing the Brahms in the reverse order from what you've got in the programme. I'm going to sing the Anthems first. It's a beautiful reflection on a walk in the countryside, which is so peaceful, so still, it's just like heaven. The second piece, the Ewige Stencher, is quite lively. Boy goes to girl's house, asks her to let him in to tell her of his love. In the second verse, she says, no, my mother says it would ruin me. In the third verse, she says, no, I'm freezing. My heart will freeze, the wind's icy, my love will die. And she basically says in the fourth verse, get lost. Don't go to bed, let your love die. You rascal. Or, yes.
We're
shake hands with me, or offer signs of peace. Lay one finger on me and I'll send for the police. Don't whisper, peace be with you, this is the sea of E. So bend your knees, say vow and fee, and keep your hands off me. Gang tells us love our neighbour, and Mrs. Beamish sneers. I couldn't love my neighbour till I've known them 30 years. Even when it isn't Christmas, he has youngsters in the church, and he's altered all the music after audience research. They shout out hallelujah, they don't act like me and you. The young women don't wear hats while the young men quite often do. And they seem to like their hands enthusiastically run, till they try with Mrs. Beamish and feel her acid tongue. Don't you dare shake hands with me, I don't know where they've been. Lay one finger on me and you'll feel this tambourine. Don't whisper, peace be with you, this is the sea of E. So bend your knees, say thou and fee, and keep your hands off me. In the beginning was the word, when out loud like for a herd, Harry Seacombe then would scream, morning has broke and glorious dream. Now the organ's gone for scrap, every vicar's got a clap. Hallelujah, Mrs. Beamish, hallelujah. She's squeamish, so squeamish, don't you dare shake hands with me, or turn to me and smile. You'll end up spitting teeth out, face downwards in the aisle. Don't whisper, peace be with you, this is the sea of E. You just go an inch too far and you'll end up wearing that guitar. One false move in my direction and you need to believe in the resurrection. So bend your knees, say now and me, and keep your hands off me.
"'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma, in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the lustre of midday to objects below. When, what to my wandering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver, so lively and quick. I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles then, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. and a bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler, just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth drew up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed, like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump and a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, gave a nod up the chimney. He rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Santa's welcome here. Thank you to everyone who has contributed today, to all our performers, to Roundelay, to those who have worked behind the scenes to get the chapel ready, Joe, Hillary, Laura, Sonia, Janet, Michael for overseeing refreshments. Thank you to Magdalene for speaking about Africats, and please do give generously. Either, if you're heading out into the wider world from here as you leave, we have a collection plate. Or if you're staying for refreshments, please, you can give there as well. But please do give generously. It's an important organization. We're grateful for the work they do. So thank you. And of course, a huge thank you to Catherine, our music director. These concerts do not fall ready-made from the sky. You might believe. They require hours, and I really insist upon that, hours. Well, I don't insist upon that, I should saying as I'm the music director's husband. They require hours of work and negotiation. Lots of little strings, in this case literally, and loose ends that need tying up. So thank you, Catherine, for all of the work that you've brought to me. And thank you to all of you who have come today, everyone who will support Africats, who will lend your voices for the hymns. Before you leave as well, as a donation, please do hand over your cards to Joe, and like I said, they'll be affixed to our fair tree for the rest of the Advent season. Now finally, please join with me as we sing our final song,